jungle moon hung like a green jewel against the black of space. Captain Hyenwu pressed his face against the small window of the research shuttle as it broke through the thick clouds. Below him stretched endless green canopy, broken only by silver rivers that wound like snakes through the wilderness. First time seeing Kepler-440 up close, Captain asked Dr. Nari from the seat behind him. She was checking her equipment for the third time that morning. Her scanner beeped softly as she calibrated the settings. First time this deep into unexplored territory, Hyenwu replied. He had been to many worlds in his 15 years with the xenobiology corps, but this moon felt different. The air itself seemed to hum with life. Sergeant Taman looked up from his weapon checks. Readings show massive life forms down there, Captain. Some bigger than our shuttle. You sure we want to land? That is exactly why we are here, Sergeant, Dr. Nari said with excitement in her voice. The preliminary scans from orbit showed species diversity unlike anything we have seen. This could rewrite our understanding of jungle ecosystems. The shuttle touched down in a small clearing. The moment they opened the hatch, the sounds hit them like a wall. Screeches and calls echoed from every direction. Something large crashed through the underbrush nearby, making all three humans reach for their weapons. Easy, everyone, Hyenwu said, raising his hand. We are guests here, remember that. They set up their base camp quickly. Dr. Nari immediately began taking readings while Sergeant Taman established a perimeter. The jungle pressed in around them, thick and alive and watching. Captain, you need to see this, Dr. Nari called from her scanner. Her voice had changed. The excitement was gone, replaced by something else. Concern, maybe, or fear. Hyenwu joined her at the edge of their clearing. She pointed deeper into the jungle where the trees grew so thick that barely any sunlight reached the ground. Is something big moving about 2 kilometers that way? It's really big, but it is not moving much. It's just small movements like it is staying in one place. Injured, maybe Taman suggested joining them. Maybe Dr. Nari said, but she did not sound convinced. The readings are strange. Multiple life signs, but one much larger than the others. And the smaller one seems to be in distress. They packed light gear and headed into the jungle. The deeper they went, the quieter it became. The normal sounds of jungle life faded until even their footsteps seemed too loud. Something was wrong here. Very wrong. Captain Taman whispered, pointing ahead. Movement. Through the thick trees, they could see it. A massive shape lying on its side. Even from a distance, they could tell it was enormous. Easily 20 meters, long and covered in dark, chitinous armor that reflected the filtered sunlight like black metal. Dear God, Dr. Nari breathed. What is that thing? As they got closer, the shape resolved into something that made all 3 humans stop dead in their tracks. It was a Vorthok, one of the legendary devourers. The apex predators that had wiped out entire civilizations across 12 star systems. We need to leave, Taman said immediately. Now, before it notices us. But Dr. Nari was already studying her scanner. Wait. Look at the readings. It is dying. And there is something else, something smaller. The great beast lay on its side, breathing in slow, labored gasps. Each breath sounded like steam escaping from a broken engine. Dark fluid leaked from wounds along its flanks, staining the jungle floor. And there beside it, pressed against the massive body, was another shape, much smaller but unmistakably. Vorthok young, maybe adolescent. It keened softly, a sound like breaking glass that cut straight through to the heart. It is protecting its child, Dr. Nari whispered. As they watched, the great beast lifted its head one last time. Its eyes were like black diamonds, each one larger than a human head. It looked at the smaller creature beside it and made a sound. Not the terrible roar that Vorthok were famous for. Something gentler. It's almost like a purr. Then it died. The silence that followed was complete. Even the jungle itself seemed to hold its breath. The young Vorthok pressed closer to the still body, making that glass-breaking sound over and over. We should go, Taman said again. The child might be just as dangerous as the adult. But even as he spoke, something was happening. Other sounds. We're returning to the jungle. It's not the normal calls and screeches, but something else. Something hungry. Captain Dr. Nari pointed to the trees around the clearing. Look, eyes were watching from the shadows, dozens of them. Predators that had been waiting for the great Vorthok to die. Now they sensed weakness and opportunity. The young Vorthok seemed to realize it too. It raised its head and looked around at the gathering threats. It was clearly afraid, but it did not run. Instead, it positioned itself between the watchers and its parent's body. "It is trying to protect the body," Dr. Nari said with wonder in her voice. "It will not last 5 minutes," Taman observed. "Look at the size of some of those things." He was right. Creatures moving in the shadows were massive. Jungle cats with saber teeth, something that looked like a cross between a bear and a rhinoceros. Packed hunters with scales that shimmed like oil. The young Vorthok was maybe 3 meters long, still growing into the armor and claws that would make it a terror someday. But today it was just a child, alone and afraid and surrounded by death. "We cannot just watch this happen," Dr. Nari said. "We can, and we will," Taman replied firmly. "That thing is a Vorthok. You know how many species they have wiped out? How many worlds they have stripped bare? Just because this one is young does not make it less dangerous." "But look at it," Dr. Nari argued. "Really look. It is not attacking. It is not showing aggression toward us, even though we are clearly threatening. It is mourning." "How many predators do you know that mourn their dead?" Hyenwu said nothing. He was watching the young Vorthok carefully. The creature had noticed them now. Its head turned in their direction, and for a moment their eyes met. What Hyenwu saw was not the mindless hunger he expected. Not the killing instinct that had made Vorthok the nightmare of the galaxy. What he saw was intelligence, pain, and something that looked remarkably like hope. The first of the jungle predators made its move. A massive cat thing that sprang from the trees with claws extended. Young Vorthok met it head-on. They tumbled together in a blur of claws and teeth and chitinous armor. The Vorthok was faster and stronger, but inexperienced. It managed to drive off the cat, but not without taking serious wounds. Dark fluid ran down its flanks, matching the stains around its dead parent. More predators were moving in, too many. The young Vorthok backed against its parent's body and prepared to make its last stand. Captain Dr. Nari said quietly, "We have a choice to make." Hyenwu looked at his team. A Taman who was trained to assess threats and follow protocol. A Dr. Nari who saw the universe through the eyes of science and discovery. Then he looked back at the young Vorthok. Every regulation said to leave. Every bit of training said to stay away from Vorthok at all costs. Every instinct of survival said to run. But sometimes being human meant doing the thing that made no sense. The thing that was dangerous and stupid and completely against all logic. Sometimes being human meant choosing hope over fear. Taman Hyenwu said quietly, "Power up the pulse rifle. It's non-lethal settings." "Captain, that is an order, Sergeant." "Sir, what are we doing?" Hyenwu stepped forward into the clearing. The young Vorthok turned toward him, its body tensed for another fight. But when Hyenwu raised his hands, showing no weapons, the creature hesitated. "We are about to find out if compassion can bridge the gap between species," Hyenwu said. "Even species that should be mortal enemies." The jungle predators were closing in. Young Vorthok was bleeding and exhausted. And 3 humans were about to risk everything on the hope that there was more to this creature than its reputation suggested. The first rule of first contact was simple. Do not interfere with natural processes. Captain Hyenwu was about to break that rule in the most spectacular way possible. The pulse rifle hummed to life in Sergeant Taman's hands. The non-lethal setting would stun the jungle predators but not kill them. At least that was the plan. "Captain, this is insane," Taman muttered, but he took aim at the nearest threat. A pack of scaled hunters that looked like wolves, crossed with crocodiles. "Insane is our specialty, Sergeant," Hyenwu replied. He stepped closer to the young Vorthok, keeping his movements slow and deliberate. The creature watched him with those black diamond eyes. Intelligence flickered there. And confusion. Dr. Nari activated her scanner and began recording everything. "If we are going to do this, we need to document every second." This could be the most important first contact in human history. The first pack of predators charged. Taemin's pulse rifle cracked 3 times, dropping the lead hunters. The others hesitated, seeing their packmates twitching on the ground, but not dead. The young Vorthok turned its head between the falling predators and the humans. It made a sound like grinding metal, not aggressive, more like a question. "It is trying to understand what we are doing," Dr. Nari said with excitement. "Look at its posture. It is relaxed slightly. It knows we helped. It could also be getting ready to attack us too," Taemin pointed out while keeping his rifle trained on the remaining threats. More predators emerged from the jungle. Bigger ones, a creature that looked like a bear made of living rock, something with too many legs and teeth like swords. They had been waiting for the Vorthok to weaken, but now they smelled blood and opportunity. Hugh made a decision that would change everything. He holstered his sidearm and walked directly toward the young Vorthok. Behind him, he could hear Taemin cursing softly. "Captain, what are you doing?" Dr. Nari called. "Something stupid," Hyen-Woo replied. "Or something brilliant. We will find out which." The young Vorthok tensed as he approached. Claws extended from its forelimbs. Each claw was as long as Hyen-Woo's forearm and sharp enough to cut through steel. But it did not attack. It watched and waited. Hyen-Woo stopped, just out of claw range. He could smell the creature now. Not the death smell he expected, but something like heated metal and ozone. Almost clean. "Easy," he said in the gentlest voice he could manage. "We are here to help." The creature tilted its head. The movement was almost bird-like, despite its size. It made that grinding metal sound again, softer this time. "Captain, I have multiple contacts closing in," Taemin reported. "We need to move now if we are going to do this." Dr. Nari Hyen-Woo called without taking his eyes off the young Vorthok. "Can you get a medical scan? I need to know how badly it is hurt." "Already on it," she replied. Her scanner beeped rapidly as it gathered data. 3 deep lacerations along the left flank. Significant blood loss, but nothing immediately life-threatening. "Captain, this is amazing. Its bone density is incredible. And the muscle structure is like nothing I have ever seen." A roar shook the jungle. Something massive was coming through the trees. The ground trembled with each step. The young Vorthok turned toward the sound and made a noise that was definitely fear. It pressed back against its parent's body as if trying to disappear. "That is our cue to leave," Taemin said. "All of us. Right now." But Hyen-Woo was already moving. He approached the young Vorthok with his hands extended. "Come on," he said. "Come with us. We can keep you safe." The creature looked at him, then at the dead parent, then back at him. The intelligence in those eyes was unmistakable now. It was making a choice. "Hyun-Woo," Dr. Nari said urgently. "Whatever is coming, it is big. Really big. My scanner is going crazy." The trees at the edge of the clearing began to bend and break. Something enormous was pushing through. The young Vorthok made a decision. It stepped away from its parent's body and moved toward the humans. "That is it," Hyen-Woo said. "That is." "Right. We are going to help you." The creature came closer. Close enough that Hyen-Woo could see his reflection in its black eyes. Close enough that one swipe of its claws could end his life. Instead, the young Vorthok did something nobody expected. It lowered its head and made a soft sound. It's almost like a cat purring, but deeper. Metallic. "It is showing submission," Dr. Nari breathed. "It is asking for help." The thing crashing through the jungle finally emerged.
Ow!
It was another Vorthok, but much older and scarred. An ancient predator with armor blackened by age and battles. It saw the dead adult and roared again. The sound shattered several trees, but when it turned toward the young one and saw the humans, its behavior changed. The roar became something different. A warning. It was telling them to stay away from the child. "Thinks we are threatening the young one," Dr. Nari realized. The old Vorthok charged. Taemin opened fire with everything he had, but the pulse rifle barely slowed it down. The creature was massive, unstoppable. Hyen-Woo did the only thing he could think of. He stepped between the charging adult and the young Vorthok. He spread his arms wide, making himself as big as possible. "Stop!" he shouted. "We are trying to help." The old Vorthok skidded to a halt just meters away. It looked down at the small human standing in its path. Its eyes were different from the young ones. Older, harder, but still intelligent. Behind, Hyan-Woo, the young Vorthok, made a series of sounds, clicks and whistles, and that grinding metal noise. It was trying to communicate with the adult. The old Vorthok listened. Then it looked at the humans again. Its massive head turned to study each of them. When its gaze fell on Dr. Nari's medical scanner, it made a questioning sound. "It wants to know what we are doing," Dr. Nari said. "Can tell the scanner is medical equipment." She held up the scanner slowly. The old Vorthok watched without moving. She pointed at the young one, and then at the wounds on its side. Understanding flickered in the ancient eyes. The old Vorthok stepped back. Not much, just enough to show it was not about to attack. "Can you treat the wounds here?" Hyan-Woo asked. "Dr. Nari, I have basic medical supplies, but nothing designed for Vorthok biology. We need to get it back to the ship, to the proper medical bay." The young Vorthok seemed to understand. It looked at the old one and made more sounds. A conversation was happening, a language no human had ever heard before. Finally, the old Vorthok moved. It approached the dead adult and touched it gently with one massive claw. A goodbye. Then, it turned and disappeared back into the jungle without another sound. "What just happened?" Taemin asked. "I think we just witnessed a custody transfer," Dr. Nari said with wonder. The old one was checking on the family. When it realized the parent was dead and we were helping the child, it left the young one in our care. The young Vorthok looked at the humans. Then it did something that changed everything. It tried to follow them as they backed toward their camp. "It has chosen us," Hyan-Woo said. "The question is, what do we do now?" Getting the young Vorthok back to their shuttle was harder than expected. It was still weak from its wounds and the excitement. Twice it stumbled and had to rest. Each time, it made that grinding sound that they were beginning to recognize as distress. "Easy," Dr. Nari said during the second rest. She had her medical kit out and was cleaning the worst of the wounds. "We are almost there." The creature let her work. It flinched when she applied the antiseptic, but it did not pull away. It seemed to understand that she was helping. When they finally reached the shuttle, the real challenge began. The young Vorthok took one look at the human technology and froze. Its eyes went wide, and it backed away, making alarm sounds. To it, this must look like some kind of predator. It took an hour of patient coaxing, but finally the creature entered the shuttle. Once inside, it pressed itself against the wall and watched everything with frightened eyes. "Take us up," Taemin, Hyan-Woo ordered. "Nice and easy. We do not want to scare our passenger." As the shuttle lifted off, the young Vorthok made a sound like breaking glass. It was looking down at the jungle where its parent lay dead. Everything it had ever known was falling away beneath them. Dr. Nari sat down beside it. Not too close, but close enough to offer comfort. "I know," she said softly. "I know it hurts, but you are safe now. We promise." The creature looked at her. Then slowly, carefully, it reached out with one clawed hand and touched her arm. Gentle as a whisper. "Thank you in the only way it knew how," Captain Taemin called from the pilot seat. "We have a problem. Long-range communications are lighting up. Someone saw us take off with extra cargo, whoever, and they are not happy about it." Through the shuttle's small window, the research ship Soul's Pride grew larger. Their sanctuary, their home, now possibly their prison, because Captain Hyan-Woo had just violated the most sacred law in the galaxy. He had interfered with a Vorthok. The consequences were about to change everything. The Soul's Pride felt different when they docked. Captain Hyan-Woo could feel the tension the moment they stepped aboard. The crew moved with nervous energy. Conversations stopped when they passed. Everyone knew something big was happening. "Captain." Communications Officer Yoonjae met them at the airlock. Her face was pale. "We need to talk now. In private." Behind them, the young Vorthok followed slowly, kept close to Dr. Nari, who had become its unofficial guardian during the shuttle ride. The creature's head moved constantly, taking in every detail of the ship. Its eyes were wide with wonder and fear. First things first, Hyenwu said. Get our guests to the medical bay. Full scan and treatment for those wounds. Captain, that might not be wise, Youngji said quietly. The communications have been non-stop since word got out. The Altarian Council, the Crystalline Collective, even the gentle tide species, they all want the same thing, which is they want it dead. Now, before it can grow up and become like the others, Dr. Neri stopped walking. The young Vorthok sensed her distress and moved closer to her. That soft, grinding sound they had learned meant concern. It has a name, Dr. Nari said firmly. I have been working on the translation, the sounds it makes. Its name is something like Cole. It means the one who questions. I do not care if its name is Fluffy Yunji snapped. Half the galaxy wants to blow us out of space for harboring it. The other half wants to study it by cutting it apart piece by piece. Cole seemed to understand that they were talking about him. He pressed closer to Dr. Nari and made questioning sounds. She reached out and gently touched his armored head. Now she told Youngji, let us get him settled first, then we can deal with the politics. The medical bay was not designed for Vorthok anatomy, but Dr. Nari made it work. Cole was fascinated by the medical equipment. He touched everything gently with the tips of his claws. When the scanner beeped, he mimicked the sound almost perfectly. Yes. His learning capacity is incredible, Dr. Nari told Hyenwu as she worked. She showed Cole a simple puzzle box from the recreation area, the kind used to test problem-solving in various species. Cole studied it for maybe 30 seconds, then manipulated it with his claws. The box opened. First try, Dr. Nari said. With excitement, no instruction, no demonstration. He just figured it out. That is nice, Hyenwu said. But right now we have bigger problems. Show me the communications log, Yunji. The list was overwhelming. Formal protests from dozens of species. Demands for immediate surrender of the Vorthok. Threats of military action. Trade sanctions. Complete isolation from galactic society. The Altarian Council is sending a fleet, Yanji reported. 12 heavy cruisers. They will be here in 6 days. What about Earth Command? Admiral Park wants to talk to you. Personal communication. He did not sound happy. The conversation with Admiral Park was everything Hyenwu expected, and worse. The Admiral's face filled the communication screen. His expression was stone cold. Captain, what were you thinking? Park demanded. Do you have any idea what you have done? I saved a child, Admiral. A sentient being who was about to be torn apart by predators. You saved a Vorthok. Park shot back. Do you remember the Kepler massacre? 3 million dead? Or the Vega colony incident? The entire planetary population wiped out. By these things. By adult Vorthok Admiral. This one is different. Different. How? Because it is smaller. Because it has not killed anyone yet. Give it time, Captain. Give it time. Hyenwu could see Cole in the background through the medical bay window. The young creature was trying to help Dr. Nari organize her equipment. He was being careful not to damage anything with his claws. Admiral, I am sending you Dr. Nari's preliminary reports. Look at the intelligence tests, the communication attempts, the emotional responses. This is not just another predator. I do not care if it can write poetry, Captain. Entire galaxy wants it dead, and they want us to be the ones to kill it. If we refuse, we face complete isolation. No trade, no technology exchange, no mutual defense agreements, nothing. And if we comply, then we maintain our place in galactic society. Simple choice, Captain, but it was not simple. Nothing about this was simple. Over the next 2 days, things got worse. The communications grew more threatening. 3 more species announced they were sending military ships. The trade routes, too. Human space began shutting down. And through it all, Cole continued to amaze them. Dr. Nari had figured out basic communication. Cole could understand simple concepts and respond with different sounds for yes and no. He had learned to recognize each crew member and had different greeting sounds for each one. He knows we are in trouble, Dr. Nari told Hyenwu during one of their meetings. He keeps making distress sounds and pointing to the communication console. I think he understands that the messages are about him. What else have you learned? His species is more complex than we thought. They have language, art, social structures. But something went wrong. The adults became consumed with hunting and conquest. The children, like Cole, represent what they could have been. Engineer Sujin joined them in the conference room. She had been working on ship modifications in case they needed to run. "Captain, we have another problem," she said. "Cole has been exploring the ship. He found the engineering section. Is he causing damage the opposite? He fixed 3 minor problems I had been putting off. Realigned a plasma conduit, calibrated the gravity generators. He seems to understand our technology better than some of our own engineers." That night, Hyan-Woo found Cole in the observation lounge. The young Vorthok was pressed against the large window, looking out at the stars. He was making soft sounds that Dr. Nari had identified as sadness. "I know, Hyan-Woo," said, sitting down nearby. "You miss home." Cole turned to look at him. Those black eyes reflected the starlight. He made a questioning sound. "We are in trouble because of you," Hyan-Woo explained. "Not your fault. But the galaxy is afraid of your species. They want us to hurt you." Cole was quiet for a long moment. Then he stood up and walked toward the door, paused and looked back at Hyan-Woo. The message was clear. He was ready to leave, to sacrifice himself to save them. "No," Hyan-Woo said firmly. "We do not abandon family." Cole tilted his head at the word family. Dr. Nari had been teaching him basic human concepts. He understood. The next morning brought the worst news yet. The Altarian fleet had arrived early. 12 heavy cruisers dropped out of hyperspace just outside sensor range. "Incoming transmission," Yoonji reported. "Fleet Commander Zeth wants to speak with you, Captain." Da. Altarian appeared on screen. His blue skin had the metallic sheen typical of his species. His eyes were like silver coins, cold and hard. "Captain Hyan-Woo," Zeth said without preamble. "You will surrender the Vorthok immediately. Any resistance will be met with force. Commander, I request permission to present evidence that this individual poses no threat. There's no such thing as a harmless Vorthok, Captain. You have 1 hour to comply. After that, we will board your vessel and take the creature by force." The communication ended. 1 hour to decide the fate of a child who had done nothing wrong except be born the wrong species. Captain Dr. Nari said quietly. "Cole wants to talk. To you, they found the young Vorthok in the medical bay. He had been listening to everything through the ship's communication system. He looked at Hyan-Woo and made a series of complex sounds. He says, 'Thank you, Dr. Nari,' translated, 'for showing him kindness, for treating him like a person instead of a monster,' and he says goodbye." "We are not saying goodbye," Hyan-Woo replied. "Not yet." But even as he spoke, he could see the Altarian ships moving closer, 12 against 1. There was no way to fight them. No way to run. Unless they tried something completely insane. "Sujin," he called. "How fast can you get our engines running?" "They are already running, Captain. I took the liberty of preparing for emergency departure. Our weapons, we have none." "Captain, this is a research vessel, remember?" Hyan-Woo looked at his crew. Dr. Nari, who had dedicated her career to understanding life. At Taemin, who had sworn to protect them all. At Sujin, who kept their ship running. At Yunji, who connected them to the galaxy. And at Cole, who stood quietly waiting for whatever came next. "Then we run," Hyan-Woo decided. "Full power to engines. Plot a course for the nebula. If they want a chase, they will get one." "Captain, that is suicide," Yonji protested. "Maybe," Hyan-Woo replied, "but it is better than murder." The Soul's Pride leaped forward just as the Altarian ships opened fire. The Soul's Pride shook as energy blasts exploded around them. Engineer Sujin had the engines running beyond safe limits, but they were still outgunned and outnumbered. "Evasive maneuvers," Captain Hyan-Woo ordered. "Take us into the asteroid field, Captain." "That is too dangerous," Taemin called from the tactical station. "Our sensors cannot track all the debris." "Neither can theirs," Hyan-Woo replied. "It is our only chance." Behind them, the Altarian fleet followed in perfect formation. Their ships were built for war, heavy armor, powerful weapons. The Soul's Pride was built for research. It was faster and more maneuverable, but that would only help for so long. In the medical bay, Cole was experiencing space combat for the first time. Each explosion and sudden turn threw him against the walls. But instead of panic, he seemed fascinated. His head tracked the movement of the ship, as claws found purchase on surfaces no human could grip. He is adapting, Dr. Nari observed. Look how quickly he learned to move with the ship instead of fighting it. Can he help Hyan-Woo? Asked over the communication system. Help how his species evolved as hunters? He must have incredible spatial awareness. Can he predict where the enemy will be? Dr. Nari looked at Cole and tried to explain using their simple shared language. The young Vorthok listened, then moved to the small porthole. He watched the enemy ships for several minutes, making soft calculating sounds. Then, he ran to the communication panel and made a series of rapid clicks and whistles. He says the lead ship will try to cut us off at the third asteroid, Dr. Nari translated. The smaller ships will come from above and below. Sujin, did you get that? Got it, Captain? Adjusting course. The Soul's Pride dove suddenly just as energy beams lit up the space where they had been. The Altarian formation broke apart, trying to follow the unexpected maneuver. Was right, Sujin called. It did exactly what he predicted. For the next hour, Cole helped them stay ahead of the fleet. His understanding of three-dimensional movement was incredible. He could predict enemy tactics better than their own computers. But eventually their luck ran out. The asteroid field ended. An open space stretched ahead. The Altarian ships spread out, cutting off all escape routes. End of the line, Taman reported. We are surrounded. Fleet Commander Zeth appeared on the communication screen again. His metallic face showed no emotion. Impressive flying, Captain Zeth said. But this ends now. Prepare to be boarded. Commander, I want to make one request, Hyan-Woo said. Let me broadcast a message to the galaxy. Let them see what they are. Asking us to destroy? You have 5 minutes, Captain. Make them count. Hyan-Woo activated the ship's long-range communications. His message would reach every inhabited system in known space. Every species that had demanded Cole's death would hear this. My name is Captain Hyan-Woo of the Earth's vessel Soul's Pride, he began. 3 days ago, my team discovered a young member of the Vorthok species, alone, abandoned, about to be killed by predators. He gestured, and Cole moved into view of the camera. The young creature looked directly into the lens. His black eyes reflected the bridge lights. This is Cole Hyan-Woo. Continued. He's intelligent, he communicates, he shows emotion. He helped us escape your fleet not through violence but through understanding. Represents what his species could become if given the chance. Cole made soft sounds. Dr. Nari had taught him. A few human words. Thank you, Cole said in halting but clear speech. For kindness, for hope. The bridge was silent. Even the Altarian ships had stopped moving. The galaxy has spent centuries judging entire species by their worst examples, Hyan-Woo said. Today humanity chooses to see the individual. If protecting an innocent child makes us criminals, then we accept that judgment. He looked directly into the camera. But history will remember this moment. The day the galaxy chose fear over compassion. The day we turned our backs on the possibility of redemption, the transmission ended. For several minutes nobody spoke. Then Zeth's voice crackled over the communication system. Touching, Captain, but it changes nothing. Prepare to surrender the creature. No, Hyan-Woo said simply. Then you will die with it. The Altarian ships powered up their weapons. Energy built in their forward arrays. In moments, the Soul's Pride would be nothing but debris. But then, something unexpected happened. Commander Zeth, a new voice interrupted. This is Science Director Vel of the Altarian Academy. I order you to stand down. Director, the creature is too dangerous, the creature just spoke, Commander. It thanked them for kindness. When in our history have we recorded a Vorthok showing gratitude? Other voices joined the communication channel. Scientists from different species, philosophers, even some military leaders. The human is right, said a voice identified as Dr. Keth from the Crystalline Collective. We have been judging the individual by the species. This goes against our own principles. One exception does not change the nature of the Vorthok, Zeth argued. But it proves exceptions can exist, another voice replied. And if one can change, perhaps others can too. The debate continued for hours. Species that had been united in demanding Cole's death were now divided. Some maintained their original position. Others began to reconsider. During the argument, Cole did something remarkable. He activated the ship's external speakers and began to sing. It was not like any sound humans had heard before. Deep and resonant like whale song, but with harmonic overtones that seemed to touch something primal. The song spoke of loneliness and loss, but also of hope and connection. "What is he doing?" Taman asked. "It is a mourning song," Dr. Nari said with tears in her eyes. "He is singing for his dead parent, but also for his species, for what they lost when they chose violence over understanding." The song reached every ship in the fleet. It was broadcast across the galaxy, along with their debate. Beings who had never heard a Vorthok do anything but roar were listening to one grieve. Commander Science Director Vel said quietly, "Stand down your weapons, Director." "I cannot." "That is an order, Commander. From the Altarian Science Council, we invoke emergency research protocols." One by one, the Altarian ships powered down their weapons, but Zeth was not finished. "Even if we spare it now, what happens next?" he demanded. "Where does it go? Does it do? How do we know it will not become like the others when it grows up?" "We do not know," Hyan Wu admitted. "But that is what makes this important. For the first time, we have the chance to guide a young Vorthok, to show it a different path. And if it fails, if it becomes a killer, then we will deal with that when it happens. But we will not condemn a child for crimes it might commit." The communication channel erupted in arguments again. Some species supported the humans. Others demanded guarantees that could not be given. Finally, a new voice cut through the noise. Ancient and commanding. "This is Elder Tan of the Gentle Tide." The voice said, "We have reached a decision. We propose a trial period. The young Vorthok will remain in human custody. It will be monitored and studied. If after one galactic standard year it shows no signs of dangerous behavior, it will be granted provisional citizenship. And if it does show dangerous behavior," Zeth asked, "then it will be dealt with according to galactic law. But until then, it deserves the chance to prove itself." The vote was close. 7 species in favor, 5 opposed, 3 abstaining. It was enough. Cole was free. For now, as the fleet began to disperse, Cole approached Captain Hyan Wu. The young Vorthok had been listening to everything through the translation system Dr. Nari had built. "Thank you," Cole said in his halting human speech. "For believing, for fighting, for giving chance. We all deserve a chance to be better than our worst impulses," Hyan Wu replied. "Even humans. Even Vorthok." Cole nodded. He understood. But as the soul's pride set course for Earth, both Hyan Wu and Cole knew this was just the beginning. The real test would come in the months ahead. Could a species known for nothing but destruction learn compassion? Could the galaxy learn to judge individuals instead of stereotypes? The answer would determine not just Cole's fate, but the future of interspecies relations across the galaxy. No pressure at all. 6 months had passed since the standoff with the Altarian fleet. The Soul's Pride had become famous across the galaxy. Some called Captain Hyan Wu a hero, others called him a fool. But everyone was watching to see what would happen with Cole. The young Vorthok had grown during his time with the humans. Not just physically, but intellectually and emotionally. He now spoke basic galactic standard. He understood complex concepts. He had even started creating art using his claws to carve intricate patterns in metal. His progress is remarkable, Dr. Nari reported during their monthly evaluation. Shows no signs of the aggressive behavior typical of adult Vorthok. Instead, he demonstrates empathy, curiosity, and what I can only describe as a moral compass. Galaxy is still divided, Communications Officer Yunji added. Half the species think we should grant him full citizenship. The other half think we are making a terrible mistake. Captain Hyan Wu looked through the observation window at Cole. The young Vorthok was in the recreation area, teaching some of the crew members a game he had invented. It involved pattern recognition and spatial reasoning. The humans were terrible at it, but Cole patiently helped them improve. "What do you think, Cole?" Hyan Wu asked. Are you ready for the citizenship test? Cole had been practicing his speech. He spoke slowly but clearly. I am ready, Captain. But I am also afraid. Afraid of what? Afraid that I will fail, that I will prove the galaxy right about my species, that I will let you down. Dr. Nari sat down beside him. Cole, you have already proven more than anyone expected. You have shown that Vorthok can be gentle, that they can create instead of destroy, that they can choose their own path. But what if it is not enough? Then we keep trying, Hyanwu said. Firmly, that is what families do. The citizenship hearing was held on the neutral space station, Harmony Point. Representatives from every major species attended. The gallery was packed with reporters and observers. The entire galaxy was watching. Cole stood before the tribunal. He had grown to nearly 4 meters tall, but he still seemed small in the vast chamber. His black armor reflected the lights as he waited for the questions to begin. Elder Tan of the Gentle Tide spoke first. Cole of the Vorthok species. You have lived among humans for 6 months. What have you learned? I have learned that strength is not about how much you can destroy. Cole replied, it is about how much you can protect. I have learned that intelligence is not about being clever. It is about understanding others. I have learned that family is not about blood. It is about choice. Do you renounce the violent ways of your species? Demanded Commander Zeth. I cannot speak for my species, Cole said carefully. I can only speak for myself. Choose to build rather than break. To help rather than hurt. To protect rather than prey. The questions continued for hours. Cole answered each one thoughtfully. He admitted his fears. He acknowledged his species' history. But he also spoke of hope, of the possibility of change, of the chance to be judged by his own actions rather than his bloodline. Finally, Science Director Vel asked the crucial question. If you encountered other members of your species, would you try to stop them from harming innocents? The chamber fell silent. This was the test. Would Cole choose his adopted family over his birth species? Yes, Cole said without hesitation. I would try to stop them. Not because I hate what I am, but because I love what I could become. The tribunal retired to consider their decision. The wait felt like forever. Cole sat with the human crew, his family. Captain Hyanwu put a hand on his armored shoulder. Whatever happens, Hyanwu said, we are proud of you. Thank you, Captain, for everything. When the tribunal returned, Elder Tan spoke for all of them. The decision was not unanimous, but it was clear. Cole of the Vorthok species is hereby granted provisional galactic citizenship. He will be monitored for 1 additional year. If he maintains his current behavior, he will receive full citizenship with all rights and responsibilities. Erupted in cheers and protests. But Cole only heard one thing. He was free. He was accepted. He was no longer defined by his species' reputation. As they left the station, Dr. Nari noticed something. Cole, you have been getting messages on your personal communicator. Lots of them. What kind of messages? See for yourself. The messages were from across the galaxy. Young beings from different species who felt like outcasts, who did not fit the expectations of their people, who had been inspired by Cole's story to believe they could choose their own path. But one message was different. It came from deep space, from a ship with no identification. Cole, who questions the message, said in ancient Vorthok, I am Vel who seeks. I heard your words. I choose your path. Can you teach me? Cole stared at the message. Another Vorthok was asking for help. It's asking to learn a different way. Captain Cole said excitedly, we have work to do. Over the following months, more messages arrived. Vorthok, who had been cast out by their own kind for showing mercy, for refusing to kill, for asking questions about their violent traditions. The soul's pride became something unexpected. A sanctuary for outcasts. A place where beings could learn to be more than their species' reputation suggested. We are starting a movement, Dr. Nari observed. A revolution of individuals choosing their own identity. The galaxy is changing, Hyanwu agreed. Species are beginning to judge individuals by their actions rather than their bloodline. Cole had become more than just the first Vorthok citizen. He had become a symbol, proof that anyone could change, that anyone could choose to be better. The rule that had governed the galaxy for centuries was simple: judge the individual by the species, fear the different, destroy the dangerous. But now there was a new rule, one written not in law, but in hope. Give everyone a chance to prove who they choose to be. 6 months later, Cole received his full citizenship. The ceremony was broadcast across the galaxy. When asked what he wanted to do with his freedom, Cole had a simple answer: I want to help others find their own path. I want to show them that we are not prisoners of our birth, or not slaves to our reputation. We can choose to be better. The wild had forsaken the beast's child, but humanity had not come to fear. They had come to save. In saving one lost soul, they had changed the galaxy forever. Cole's story became legend. The tale of the Vorthok who chose compassion over conquest, who chose love over fear, who proved that anyone could be redeemed if someone was brave enough to believe in them. And in the deepest parts of space where other outcasts hid in shame and fear, they heard the story and began to hope. Maybe they too could choose a different path. Maybe they too could come home. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders. But the greatest wonder of all was the capacity for change. The ability to see past prejudice to possibility. The courage to judge not by species, but by soul. It was a very human thing to do. And perhaps that was the point. Years later, when historians wrote about the great change that swept the galaxy, they would mark its beginning with a simple act. A human captain who refused to abandon a child. A crew who chose compassion over protocol. A young Vorthok who proved that anyone could be more than their worst. Impulses. The wild had forsaken the beast's child. But then came humanity, not to fear, but to save. And in saving one, they had saved them all.